Hiya, my name's Michael Rzeznik, and I am one of the artists on show in the In Isolation Together exhibition. Artcore have asked me to do this artist takeover and talk a little bit about myself and my practice. So I've put together a list of things which I'm going to be referring to as I go through because it's a bit weird talking to myself on the camera. So hopefully I will get through all of the topics they want me to talk about, and feel free to put some questions down in the comments because that will help me greatly. So as I said, my name is Michael Rzeznik. Two of my works are on show at the moment this week in Isolation Together exhibition. A little bit about myself. I'm 25 years of age. I graduated at Reading University in 2017 with a BA Fine Art, where I practiced in painting, sculpture, animation, and video. Since then, I've been working full-time as an art technician, once in Swindon and now in London. And I recently moved to London in the past year and a half or so. A little bit about the job is I get the opportunity to bring my own knowledge and practice into my day-to-day work, which is what I enjoy about it. With the handling of materials and my knowledge of the materials I gained through university, and things like simple jobs like canvas making, things like that. I quite enjoy those sort of jobs, and building structures and setting up studio space and the materials ready for the students. Um, Another part of my work is also working on the in-house exhibitions with students and professional artists, as well as the offsite venues for both public and private views. I enjoy working with the other creatives there. Keeps me always thinking about my own work and working with students. It's a really good inspiration. Uh, so yeah, as part of it, I also do a bit of curation and installation with the exhibitions, and yeah, so it gets me thinking about like the artist's thoughts, the balance, the flow, movement, and like compositions and things like that when I'm placing sculptures in certain areas of the gallery, and also putting works up against each other, and also working with artists uh, and how they want to show their work. That's always really interesting. Um, yeah, so a little about the works on show at the moment. Um, they've got the two titles are one's called Lou Roll 2020, and the other's called Living Room 2020. Both are to do with the current isolation situation, which I'm pretty sure all of you are very aware of, especially in the UK. So uh, the loo roll was commentating on the panic buy of toilet paper in the UK. It was an observation I saw on one of my ventures out to the shops. Um, I want to take the item toilet paper and use the medium of paint, thinking of ideologies of the privilege of being painted, and also by putting the loo roll on top of a plinth uh, within a gallery space, which I try and depict within the painting, to raise its value in society. So working off of ideas of how people were seeing the toilet paper at that point, like fighting for toilet paper and its value. Um, this is also a little nod to Marcel Duchamp's fountain piece, which I studied at university and always was fond of. So that's that one. And with the Living Room 2020, I I chose to call it Living Room because it's kind of like a play on words. Like, always try and have a bit of fun with my work, and I want to kind of put the question out there of what is living, because within that particular piece, it depicts like a blob human like person sitting in a dark room, um, which is the living room, with its only light source being the TV, which I chose to leave out because I kind of think it makes the viewer kind of think of where the light is coming from, and it makes them relate a bit more to the scene itself. As I said before, I like kind of putting a bit of humor in there. You can see things like the holiday picture in the background, which is a little jab at the fact that most people probably aren't going to be able to go on holiday this year, which is not a great thing. But I also used the toilet paper again in the couch, and that's kind of commentating on the amount of stock people have brought into the houses, and what they can be left with at the end of all of this. To talk a bit about the process, I take when I look at my work and paintings, it was really my first attempt at this sort of minimal style, especially with the loo roll piece, and well, I guess a little bit of the digital as well. It was highly important within this painting to keep the color clean, and also to play with the hues of the color, especially in the digital piece. It's challenging to get a realistic sort of dark but illumination from the TV screen and also the background image. With this, I used Photoshop, and I also used sources of like the telephone, and also the remote and the crisp packet and stuff like that. And I took things from real life and created line drawings using my Mac and the mouse pads, which isn't a traditional way of doing these illustrations, as you'd use a stylus or a graphics tablet. So there was limitations within that, which is a big factor in my work at the moment, the theme of limitations. So I guess this started from when I was at university. My work was always very large scale. One of my largest pieces being about, I think it's about 4.5 meters in length on canvas, which you can see on my website, which I'm sure is linked in all these videos. And yeah, so at uni, had loads of space, massive studio, and also just endless time to spend in the studio. Whereas now it's limited down to the time I have when I'm not working in my full-time job, and also the space, especially in isolation, where I'm currently working in the flat you can see around me. And yeah, I'm limited to space. That's why the loo roll is such a small painting. Something else that was quite interesting in uni was learning how to use materials, and also how to use money wisely to maximize what I could create. Meaning having to have a job whilst I was going through uni, so I could afford to make these large canvases. There's also, I worked mainly in oil paint, so that's not a cheap hobby to do. Let's have a look. I've got a question. Have I felt the need to create more work during the current lockdown, and if so, why? Yeah, so mainly just to kind of like keep busy at the beginning. So the way I found this exhibition was actually looking up on Creative's website, or Curator one, and it was, I come across it, and it was like Creator. Have you got any pieces relating to the isolation situation? And I thought, and at that time I had just finished the loo roll piece, and I was in the middle of doing the digital piece. And yeah, like I was saying about limitations, there's also like there's bad, and there's also good things that come from this. Obviously, I've got a limited amount of time at the moment, as I'm in isolation and furloughed. So I'm producing a lot more work than I usually do. My work from university to now, which I think's around 3 years ago now today, um, it's been a bit more sporadic than it has done in the past. So yeah, this isolation has helped in that way. So I've been making more works and currently still making other works as well. And I'm posting them on my Instagram whenever I've got an update on those, if you want to check them out. So when I look at where I got to, yeah. So talking a bit more about my process for work, I enjoy looking at different styles, and what you can see within my work, like works. I've got a piece called Donut, which was linked down in the Artcore. There's it's got an abstraction background and also a realism to the donut itself. I kind of mix the styles as I go along and how I feel the viewer is going to read the painting. I also work fluidly between mediums. I work digitally in sculpture and in painting all at the same time, and sometimes this can create great conversation between them. It allows me to view something I can't see in the painting until towards the end digitally, just by clicking and dragging and kind of trying to work out compositions and also the color palette I want to use. With sculpture, it helps me mainly with the structure of items, which really does help me when I come to painting the item. If I can see around the item, I can create more of a three-dimensional feel within the painting, and also look at the way lighting is hitting it and the shadow casted on the surfaces. So by working fluidly this way, I get kind of final pieces sometimes in 4 different mediums. Sometimes it doesn't work in one medium and works better in other mediums, and I will share the one which I think works best. I think that kind of like, when I think about influences, one of my big influences was Franz West, and the reason he was a big influence is because he has fun with his work. He pushed his sculptures the boundaries of sculpture, and also I like the way he uses his colors within his sculpture, painting and sculpture. I actually created a piece. I think it was last year in response to the Franz West show at Tate Modern. Got another question. Also, why is humor important within my work? I think it's mainly my sense of humor, and I kind of see art as a way of escaping, and to view a piece for me and for it to give me, even if it's a cheap laugh, I think it's worth it. I think it's also, art's got to be fun for me. For the subject's got to be fun, and otherwise I won't paint it or make it for me. Otherwise I lose interest quite easily, and I'm always working at my computer, thinking of ideas, putting together compositions and collages, which I then put into a painting, and I'm always laughing to myself. I think a lot of my personality comes through my paintings. No question. Do you see sculpture and painting as 2 separate things? No, not really. With all my processes, I kind of use the same sort of template the way I start each one. Like I'll think of something, and then I'll do a quick sketch of it. If I'm making a sculpture, whatever material I'm using, say I'm using plaster and wire, I'll throw together what I think it looks like. I'll start building it, and then look at the different views of it. Yeah, they kind of like all feed in to each other. I don't really use them separately. They're all in conversation with each other. Yeah, so yeah, I was talking about the influences. So the one of the major influences for these two works were a trip I took to Berlin towards the end of last year. I saw artist in a commercial gallery called Fabian Warsing, and he created these large and small um, paintings, minimal paintings of everyday objects, and he used really bright, thick outlines, and that was something I wanted to kind of bring into these paintings. Um, yeah, so working with the digital and making outlines is much easier than what is within paintings, and that's something I definitely found out when creating the Lurol piece, and how important it was to keep the brush clean and to keep those colors in. It's not the same as when you work in digital. You can grab something, draw a black line, change its color, drop in the color you want, work from a certain set of palettes which you can create on the side of the template. So it's a very different process. Yeah, so going back to that question, so I answer it a bit more. When I work with sculpture, I've mainly worked with plaster and wire, as I said before. What was great about this was you can apply it wet, and create whatever shape you want. And then once it dries, you've got something you can work from. And also, I used a lot of paints within those sculptures, so it was a great surface to work on. Let's have a quick look at what I've gone through. Yeah, I think I've gone through most things, to be honest. Working in isolation, uh, well, it's obviously the isolation part is not great at the moment, but actually getting the time to work on art has been good. And also, I think how this affects how art goes forwards, and also having exhibitions online is an interesting thing. And it was really great working in this exhibition. It was a good process, and I really enjoyed it. So I think it could become a thing in the future, which actually gets explored a lot more. Seeing that there's less and less space to actually exhibit work, and especially for digital pieces where you don't have to have a physical version to go and see, and it can be shown worldwide with just by posting it online. So yeah, I think I'm coming towards the end. So I don't want to carry on talking too much. As I said, I've got a website, www.mresnikart.wordpress.com. The spelling will be in the comments, because I know it's not an easy name to spell. And also have Instagram, underscore Rzeznik, RZEZNIK, which you can have a look and see what's going on, what I'm up to. If you see this video later, you're busy or whatever, and you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'll keep checking and answer them. And yeah, I'd just like to say thanks to Artcore Gallery for giving me the opportunity to exhibit and work during these times. And I hope everybody's good and okay, and that's it. Thank you, and see you. Bye.